What's going on? It's early here in New York City. I'm Kevin Kenny. This is the Build Series, live from the corner of 4th and Broadway over here. And we are joined on stage by the best-selling duo in the history of music, 20 #1 records to their credit. Please join me in welcoming Brooks and Dunn. I met you for the first time just now in the back. You're very relaxed. You're already working the crowd. You're like such chill guys. Do you ever get used to just hearing somebody just spout off best-selling duo in the history of music, 20 #1s? Like, how does that hit today?
It hits me like Simon and Garfunkel might all argue with that.
I want to look into that. Yeah. It sounds good. It's got a ring to it for sure.
Yeah.
We don't know how we got here. So, we just kind of wake up every day and go, that's cool.
I mean, how hard is it to kind of go all the way back to square one, right? Early 90s, I think, in Nashville. You two, I mean, if we have a casual fan watcher right now that wants to learn more about how you got started, you guys weren't like an existing band. You were put together. How soon did you realize this was magic?
Never.
Do we have
Never.
No.
Maybe 2020, right?
I think that's the trick. We just get up every day in the fog and not knowing where we are and put one foot in front of the other. Next thing you know, you're in New York doing record promo for a new record.
We try not to think about it too much, but there is probably a magic to the history of how we got together because, a friend of ours, Tim Dubois, introduced us, bought us a bad enchilada on Tuesday, and more or less kind of offered us a record deal if we'd get together because the Judds were breaking up, and there weren't going to be a lot of duos in country music. He says, I can get you on the CMA Awards show if nothing else. And we're like, this just doesn't make any sense, the whole thing. We were both writing songs, and Ronnie had already written Boot, Scootin' Boogie and Neon Moon at that time out in Oklahoma. And I'm like, they're pretty good songs. We can give it a shot. Tim convinced us to try and write together. So that same week, Thursday and Friday, we got together and wrote Brand New Man and Next Broken Heart, which were our first two #1 records. And then Neon Moon and Boot Scoot were released after that. So our first year, we had 4 #1 records out, and we're just going, what is going on? And we'd both been around the block for a long time with stuff not working. So, and we've just been scared ever since, because we keep thinking it's going to fall apart.
To back you up, if you know what it's like to fail for so long, and kind of that period was a long, scary time. We called it a big hole in our resume. You kind of learn to appreciate what's going on now, and along the way.
Do you think that's actually, truth be told, is that a big part of the success now looking back, is that you went through failures before you hit it big? I mean, now I feel like people can become, successes overnight.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
Today, help me get through this.
I don't know yet.
But how it seems to come really quick.
Yeah.
And us and other people maybe from our generation or whatever, but talk about how you don't necessarily have to put in what we call those hard knocks and do's, and you do by the standards of today's society.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but it was a crazy time back then. We had to play in bars and do things. I remember going to Nashville I was in college in Abilene, Texas. And some buddies went to Nashville and said, you got this lady you need to meet. She was an executive in the business. So I drive from Abilene to Nashville. I go in to see her, and she goes, I love the way you sing, sweetie, but you're going to have to go play. And she she used this term. She says, you're going to have to go play skull orchards. And I'm going, what is a skull orchard? And it's a bar or a beer joint. That was a term they used way back then. And I'm thinking, you mean you're not just going to snap your fingers and make me a star right now? She goes, no, you need to go put in some time. Yeah. So I did. Way too much.
Well, but it's funny because you play, you get booed out of, hundreds of bars so that when you get to the first arena gig, you know how to work a crowd, right? You know how to work a stage. You know how to do a set.
You do.
Yeah.
You do. You have to. And if you can come out of that environment, and they're tough. I mean, some of those Oklahoma, Texas bars, man, you gotta be on your game. You have to sell beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if your band's good or not, but you have to do the kind of music that gets people up and dancing, and they'll sell alcohol. And you just have to stare down some people that are going, we're waiting for you to get through so we can play the jukebox or something.
Yeah. Do you have any good Clive Davis stories from back in the day? Because you guys were one of the first acts signed to Arista Nashville, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Clive was. It's funny this album we just had released. I just got, I'm sure you did too, a personal note from Clive.
Wow.
I mean, he was handwritten notes our entire career, and like when we first signed, we're out in California, right off the bat, this huge place in San Miguel, the Ritz-Carlton or something out there. I mean, here we've gone from having all our stuff in a van, to like, what the hell? And here's Kenny G and,
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston,
whole
all these people, sitting there watching us sing Boot, Scoot, and Boogie. We're going, oh, Lord.
And they acted like they were enjoying it.
Yeah, they did. And Clive's up and dancing. And he's one of the most gracious humans, I think, on the planet. He throws these huge parties where, you walk around, it's like that, that picture of Elvis and Marilyn Monroe and Frank Sinatra all around in the same bar. That's what his parties were like. But he made sure everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
And that's from the first time. He'd
like
go,
a family.
Exactly.
Well, he made sure of that.
He'd go get Diana Ross. Hey, you've got to meet these two guys. Whatever y'all talk. And whatever like that. So
we would show up at these, like you said, these opulent parties, and there was one where it was an after Grammy party, which he's a master of, and it was in the L.A. Decorator House of the Year or something, way up on some big hill.
Terrell Owens' home.
Really opulent, yeah.
Okay.
And he wasn't there though. I think he was renting it out for $100,000 a day or something.
So right? Clive grabs us at the door and he goes, "You got to meet Rod Stewart. He's back here on the sofa." Rod's like they're surrounded by supermodels and stuff, and he's like, "Yeah."
Back there, surrounded by the Rolling Stones.
But he was really good, Clive, about making sure that you fit in and got to meet a lot of interesting people.
What's funny just came to mind. So many of these artists we'll get to in a second that are probably starstruck by you guys now. They grew up idolizing you. Do you remember any particular people, if it was a Rod Stewart, that you were starstruck by in those early sort of Clive Arista days? Do you ever remember kind of being like tongue-tied?
Time after time.
Yeah.
We spend most of our time being starstruck.
Yeah. I mean, we're fans. I think that's what fans don't necessarily take into consideration. I mean, we've dedicated our whole lives to doing this because we're just such huge fans of country music and other artists, and we're
chasing all those bands.
Yeah, you spend your whole life just wanting to do that and wanting to be like that and wanting to dress like that and whatever. Your heroes, you never get there, but it always gives you something to strive for.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see any parallels between, like, you guys came up in that power country era where, like, SoundScan came out and the stats showed, oh, wow, people like country music in the early 90s, and it was selling like never before. And I feel like there's an explosion right now, a little bit different, but do you see any parallel similarities between when you were coming up to right now?
Yeah, and it is cyclical. The styles and everything, the way they dress, and the sound and things are definitely, kind of follow that I guess, dynamic. But when we hit in the early 90s, I call it the Garth wave. Garth Brooks had just come along, and everything went from here to here. We were doing arenas and stadiums and things going, whoa. And we had to like look at, before every tour, have staff meetings to design production meetings that would 20 trucks could hold, and crazy stuff.
Yeah,
we had to figure out how to shoot ourselves out of a cannon.
Everyone was trying to
out school orchards anymore.
Yeah, everyone was trying to outdo one another back then. They were either flying from the ceiling of the Astrodome or whatever. It's like, whatever. Yeah.
It's funny. I think the ongoing rib with country music is it's not traditional. That this isn't country music anymore or whatever. I got to Nashville in '79, and that's what everyone was saying then. And it's funny, Ronnie and I got to be friends with Buck Owens. I'll never forget, we were in Bakersfield, and he hopped up on the bus to say, hey, I love that guy. He was just amazing. But at the time, there was Straight It, I think, had cut a song called Murder on Music Row, which is basically about how you've killed country music again, and this is years ago, conversation's still going on, and we were laughing about it, and Buck goes, boys, I'll tell you, they booed me off the stage of the Grand Ole Opry for playing an electric guitar, So, I mean, it's been going on forever. This started with a dulcimer out of the hills of wherever, and then the Carter family and whatever, and the first time drums were on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry, huge, it's like, it's not country music anymore, so It's just whatever the young people are influenced by, and now they're selling out stadiums and they're flying the flag of country music because they're country. I mean, it's where they come from. It's where, you know, people talk about. I was interviewing somebody for the Countdown show a couple of weeks ago. They had just written a song about riding around in a pickup truck, you know, and going to a bonfire. And I said, God, is there ever, I said, I'm not giving you a hard time. It's a great song. Is there ever an end to it? He goes, man, I'm just touring all the time now. And he goes, and all I dream about is when I was in high school. And that's all I want to write about, because it's what you think about all the time and you want to get back. It's how you came up, and it's just hard not to when it really is a lifestyle for these young people. The fact that they're playing their guitars too loud and they got some hip-hop beat on it, they can't help it. It's what they were playing in their frat houses. So I don't hold it against them.
And to back that up, I remember Merle Haggard coming in the studio years ago when we were cutting our second CD, and I was embarrassed because we were recording Hard Working Man. And I thought, this is not traditional country. And Merle Haggard just walked into the room.
He's going to kill us.
We are not cool, you know. Yeah. And we ended up being
He
great
loved
friends.
it.
He was super. Yeah, he's great about it. We were just pitching us songs. That's great.
Well, it's so funny you guys bring this up, because if you've been following the story with it's now the #1 song in the country, this Old Town Road song. Have you been following this at all?
Oh,
Lil
yeah.
Nas X, and now
Oh, yeah.
Billy Ray Cyrus is on the song. Mm-hmm. Have you heard the song?
Yes.
Is that country or is that not country in your opinion?
It's not country. It's not what I would think of as country, in my
Right.
opinion. But I don't. I mean, it's so easy. That doesn't mean there's lots of songs on that you could ask me, is that country or whatever. That doesn't mean that I don't think you should like it, or what, or country audience shouldn't like it, or
Right.
whatever. I mean, there's just a lot of elements to it that. But who's to say? You know, it's
Yeah.
funny you would say Billy Ray Cyrus is on it, because we came out about the time Achy Breaky Heart, you know, happened. And it was, I mean, what about that is like He Stopped Loving Her Today? Right. You know, it's just, I don't like drawing lines from it or saying, if country radio wants to play that, play it.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has the right to go. If country fans want to hear it, you know, well, I mean, I'm not trying, you're asking me to define what country music necessarily is.
Well, a cool thing about today's world is that there are more ways and more means to find the music that you want to hear than just one or two. Used to be we have TV and radio. Well, now we have streaming. You know, we have the internet.
Yeah.
It's all accessible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's no reason where you have to go, well, I don't know, well, that's everywhere. It's, well, the kind of music that you like is everywhere. You just have to go get it. It's not hard.
Totally. Yeah, it's exciting times. Speaking of music being everywhere, this thing came out Friday, already has almost 13 million streams. So round of applause, because that is quite the, I know it's a new metric, but that is pretty impressive as far as streaming goes. And, you know, somebody in the country community that's getting a lot of credit these days, and rightfully so, is Kacey Musgraves. She appears on the record, and if we can sort of add another accolade onto her already impressive resume, is it true her covering your song in her set is kind of what started the inspiration and the wheels turning for this?
Well, it was very much one of the catalysts. Luke Combs would show up at award shows with this god-awful Brooks and Dunn merchandise on, you know, like a flame hat or something like that. And our manager started talking to him backstage at a show one night, and just realized what a big fan he was. And he talked it up, and before we knew it, we weren't involved with really putting this thing together. We're out at our farms, you know, screwing off, and we get a call from management, and he says, "Hey, I'm gonna make a few phone calls to some artists and see what they think about maybe, you know, coming in and redoing some of these songs."
But you're right. Ronnie sent me a leak and said, "Hey, listen to this," and it was Kacey in concert doing Neon Moon.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, that is awesome, you know. So we had a few acts out there that kind of inspired us. Like, yeah, this might be something. And so, yeah, like Ronnie said, our manager sort of ran with the idea and came back a few weeks later and said, "Hey, I think I got a whole project together if you guys want to do it." Wow. We said, "What? We'll do it."
But specific to Kacey, I mean, her as a writer, you know, Neon Moon, to hear those songs go to another place, you know, and come back dressed up and sounding good to you. Yeah. That's cool. You know, it just shows it. And the music is that's what drives it. Kix and I, we laugh. We've done everything that we could over the years to screw our thing up, you know. But like he said, shooting ourselves out of cannons and silly stuff like that. You know, talk about not country. Really.
What's cool about the Kacey record specifically is she actually co-produced her song on the record.
Yeah, she came in with her band.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we had the studio band, all the guys for everyone else, and we were there on hand. We were on hand for Kacey's too, but she brought her band in. They had the arrangement already set, and knocked it out. We had a producer, Dan Huff. He's actually terrific, but it was his job to kind of toe the line and not let us veer too far off course, and did a super job with it.
Oh yeah. How did the pairings work? Was it like the artist had a wish list and then?
We basically, our manager came to us, said, "What do you think of so and so, so and so?" These are every one of the acts on this album are people that we like and admire, what they do. And then they pick the songs. And we had, except for Kacey, really, and Jon Pardi and Luke Combs in particular said, "We don't want to screw with these arrangements. We love the record you made. We want to sing that record with you guys." So there's, the ins and outs, the intros and stuff. We played with a little bit, maybe a lead ride we tricked up a little bit. But for the most part, it's just straight ahead kind of what we did originally. The rest of it, we took some real liberties with and had some fun. Like Ronnie said, Dan tried to keep us. He's like, "Guys, we got to respect this music too, y'all."
Of course, we went artist on him, all of us, and we call it. He's having to herd cats for the most part. We're all going, "No, let's take it this way. Let's do a different twist." And go. They won't recognize the song. So he really had to toe the line. He was the referee for it all.
But we went in with no pre-production. Generally when Ronnie and I would make a record, you just write a song on a guitar, and then you sit down with your producers before you waste a bunch of money with musicians in the studio and go, "How are we going to treat this? How are we going to deal with this? What are we, who's taking the lead?" So just so when you go in there, you got a plan, you have a vision, and it will vary. But we went in here with no plan. We just went in the studio.
Well, that was part of the initial mandate.
Yeah.
It says we're all going to get together, show up in the studio. Everyone has to sing there. And
let's see what happens, and it was really fun.
Oh, I bet it was
we've never had that much fun making a record.
What song?
You'd expect us to say that, but that's the truth.
I can't imagine. I mean, this must have been like a revolving door of like a party. You know what I mean? Like just like people coming in and. How do you guys like the Midland guys? You guys get along with the Midland guys?
Man, we did Fallon with them last night.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, aren't they?
Run into them. I saw the almost empty bottle of tequila in there and thought maybe they'd been on the show.
Yeah.
They don't stop.
They're a NASCAR race, There's going to be a wreck at some point. You just don't know when.
Yeah.
But they, all our girls in our crew they're all freaking out. They're pretty boys. So.
They need to be in like a movie or something, or they need their own reality.
Yeah, they are.
They're literally.
No, they truly are.
Yeah,
they're funny, good guys.
Oh, amazing. What song, if you can point to one, I'm sure there are a couple, but like really went through the greatest transformation sonically?
Well,
Red Dirt Road,
we
maybe?
talked about Neon Moon.
Right.
But sonically, Red Dirt Road, I'll go, there with you.
Okay.
Cody Johnson came in. He's a
real cowboy,
yeah,
good singer.
Ex-rodeo cowboy.
Right.
And
made it his own way. Became a star basically in Texas and on the circuit out there till the record companies couldn't deny him anymore. Has a song, probably make it to the top 10 next week.
Nice.
But that was a song we just kind of approached like we wrote it. It's very, we broke it down acoustically, and it was Dan came up with a real cool little acoustic lick on it instead of just a driving record like Red Dirt Road was originally. But
another one that comes to mind is Ain't Nothing About You with Brett Young.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Dan actually came up with the beat and the rhythm track and stuff, but we're using, to drop a name, John Mayer's drummer on that. And that's a groove that you don't hear come out of Nashville.
Pretty jazzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know what I want to ask you guys is I grew up in New Jersey, New York. This is like my hometown.
Homedale.
Steve Marcantonio.
Yeah.
Very Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, our engineer on this record.
Oh, and he's from here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So do you say sauce or gravy?
Oh, that's wow. You really know.
Oh, look at them all nodding out there. We finally hit a nerve.
Yeah. It depends
he says
on where
gravy.
You're from.
No, it's gravy. You say what?
We just bust our chops all day long.
Yeah,
you know.
I want to ask though, because I grew up here and we never had country radio really when I was growing up, but now 94.7, it's a hugely popular station here. Yeah, round of applause for 94.7. New York's country, as it's now called. But I've just seen this explosion in the country market here. How have you seen New York change throughout your career? Has it always been kind to you guys, or have you seen it become more warm?
No, it has. I mean, I think we didn't get much respect early, like in the 70s or whatever. I think it was, you kind of felt like you needed to knock a tooth out to
it was
be
stereotyped,
country. Yeah, or sit on a hay bale or something. I really saw a change when we brought the CMA Awards here in 06. And Bloomberg actually made that invitation to us, more or less, because it's so expensive to do business in New York City.
Well, that's why the Grammys are in LA every year.
Right.
Yeah.
And I remember, I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but I will. But I think we sold out Radio City with Reba pretty early in our career, and so there is some expense because we rented the Jumbotron to broadcast it, but we sold it out 2 nights in a row and we lost $6,000. But Bloomberg really made this invitation to bring the awards here, so we'll put you guys on the taxi cabs, on the buses in the city. Basically made Madison Square Garden available for us, and Ronnie and I actually hosted that year, and it was. I mean, New Yorkers on the street and whatever, hey, Brooks and Dunn, we're like, wow, they know who we are, It's kind of, didn't you feel that?
Yeah, and there's also another major catalyst that happened. There's obviously 9/11, and we showed up, and that was we had a song out that Kix had written called "Only in America," ironically at that time, and there was a huge difference in people. You run into guys on the street, they come up and talk to you and say, this town all of a sudden became a people person, whereas generally it was a bit standoffish, and I don't know what that's about. Right. There may be just cultural idioms and stereotypical stuff that goes on, but all of a sudden New York became a big part. Now, let me say, I should say this backwards, but it's all of our culture in America. We all,
It's a shame we have to have tragedies to let each other know how strong we are and united as a nation.
Yeah.
But
I think that's more about it. It's just the unification that there's nothing good about it.
And you know what I think that speaks to directly is just at the root of country music is heart. Right? And community.
Yeah.
So, of course, that kind of makes sense when you think about it.
That's it.
Yeah. We're going to turn it over to the audience really quick here. We've got a couple questions we're going to get to. The first is going to come from right up here. What's your name and where you're from?
Hi, I'm Harriet. I'm from Brooklyn.
Hi, Harriet.
Thanks so much for the music throughout the years. The Neon Circus Tour was probably one of the best times I ever had out in Homedale.
Oh, cool.
Back in the day. And thank you for coming to when the radio station opened up. And you hosted all those nights. It was a blast. And also at Joe's Pub, you take it down. You have the big show, and then you bring it down. Garth was here on Monday, and he said that the thing he would love to do after the big stadium tour was to go back to honky tonks, because that's where he feels the music would be best served.
Yeah.
I've seen you at Joe's Pub. I know what that's like. Do you have any plans, or would you ever consider doing a little small acoustic tour?
I don't know about maybe a moderate acoustic theme. We used to shut the shows down and go to like a local club for years with all the bands. Keith Urban, Toby Keith.
And you brought him to Homedale. That was one of the first times that I saw him live. Toby Keith and Montgomery Gentry. That show is engraved, and I still have the T-shirt.
It's funny, and we do like it at Caesars now, our show. We've got probably, I think, the funnest part for me, maybe Ronnie too. I know Reba enjoys it. We just sit down on stools and play some stuff acoustically and whatever breakdown. It's hard. Ronnie and I just we sort of developed ourselves as a honky-tonk band, and it's hard sometimes. We just sort of like rocking it. Now, going into small clubs and whatever, like he was saying, when we get done with the show, we go find a good house band and we jump in there and yes.
blow up their equipment.
Say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here's a check. You need to fix.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, we have time for one final one. What's your name? Where are you from?
My name's Rita. I'm from Iowa, but now live in Queens. But first of all, congratulations to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Wow, that was a big one.
And you will have an exhibit.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how you're going to choose the things that go in that exhibit, or if
you need to ask them because they've taken everything out of our homes.
Just seriously. He came to me the other day. The first time I've seen him, actually freaked out. And he went, "They cleaned my house out.
They got all our awards.
We have these all about me rooms, and now the walls are bare. I don't know what we'll do now.
It will be. I mean, over the years, we've given them race cars and everything you can imagine. There's all this stuff and clothes and everything. It's when the curator came to the house, going, "What can I have?" I go, "You can have everything. I don't care. Just God, it's an honor it's going to be like an 11-month exhibit. Like I've seen all this stuff. I've patted myself on the back till I'm tired. It's like, yeah, just take it all, whatever. And then he said, "Well, is there anything else?" I said, Ronnie and I flew a hot air balloon for 11 years out there on the road. I said, "What about that?" He goes, "Gosh, okay." So it may be hanging in there too for all I know, but there's no telling.
That's awesome. Great question.
I think they took 20 guitars, as well as awards and whatever. So it's obviously not all going to be able to be displayed, but it should be pretty cool. It's quite an honor.
It's going to be a trip, though.
Yeah. And again, man, that's one of the first places I went when I got to Nashville. I just went straight and just walked around the Hall of Fame, just stared at Elvis's Cadillac for so long. And again, we're just fans, and to think that our stuff is worthy of being in there, it's all kind of,
It's not worthy. They made a mistake, dude.
I know. I know.
Don't correct them.
There'll be a recount.
Yeah. And then I wanted to mention, we're out of time here, but you're also advising on The Voice this season. How's that been going?
And we messed some kids up.
Yeah.
They take you in a big room, and they bring those poor kids in. They're standing in front of 2 microphones or one right in front of you. Some of them are 16. Yeah. Never played before. But and you just try to be kind and understanding, and give them whatever advice they're looking for. And I'm sure not much of what we had to say was relevant, but
You got to see Blake?
Blake's our bud.
Yeah.
He's so good at that.
Yeah.
I wish you could hear half of the stuff that doesn't get on camera that he says. I mean, he's like the most inappropriate, funnest human that you would ever imagine being around. Great guy. But you were talking about paying dues. I mean, just think about now, a lot of those people on there, they're trained professionals. They have been playing forever and have been in bands and whatever. Some of them have had record deals. I mean, they're not, all of them are not inexperienced. But some of those young people, imagine your first exposure being in front of millions of people instead of like us, you go into a pizza joint or wherever you started playing and play for 8 or 10 people. So you kind of get the woolies out of you, in a more, less intense arena. So I really feel for a lot of them because that's a tough way to jump in the business.
Far cry from the Skull Orchards, I'll say again.
Yeah.
Guys, again, just thank you so much again for making time for us this morning here on Build. And in closing, remember, Reboot out and available everywhere now. Brooks and Dunn.
Thank you.